I consider myself lucky to have become a crack cocaine addict that lost everything multiple times and wanted to kill himself.
Nathaniel Blackburn, known to MTV fans simply as Nathan, one of the most talked about seasons in real world history.
God, I'm making more money than I ever thought I would make in my life. People know who I am. People want my autograph, and I'd build it back up and I'd blow it up again.
Really?
Oh yeah, man, for 11 years.
Well, this is who I am.
This is who I am. It's never going to change. Something is wrong with you. They're not going to like you. You're not enough. Yeah, like, you'd have to hold on.
Yeah. It's going to get better.
Yeah, it's going to get hard.
Buckle up. This is What the Hell Do I Know with JB.
Nathaniel Blackburn.
My man.
So good to have you here. I want to read your resume.
Oh, God.
That I put it together some, but then I also chat GBT'd this or AI'd it.
Oh, no.
So in the middle, if you see something that's off, just correct it.
Got it.
Okay. So this is what the interwebs are saying about you.
This could be bad.
No, I don't know. Let's see. I haven't fully read it.
Let's roll.
So Nathaniel Blackburn, known to MTV fans simply as Nathan during the late 90s, first rose to prominence as a cast member in 1998. At the time, he was a young cadet at Virginia Military Institute and became part of one of the most talked about seasons in real-world history. The Seattle season became infamous for what many fans still refer to as the slap heard around the real world. The explosive altercation between castmates Stephen Williams and Irene McGee that became one of the defining controversies of early reality television. Nathan was in the middle of a house dynamic that helped make the season one of MTV's most memorable and culturally discussed seasons. Nathan's storyline on the show included a friendship with Irene McGee, navigating a long-distance relationship during filming, his friendship with castmate David Burns, whom he knew prior to the show through VMI, wrestling with identity, responsibility, and adulthood in front of a national audience. After spun out of the Real World and Road Rules franchise, Nathan became a reoccurring figure on several early challenges, including Real World Road Rules Challenge, the Battle of the Seasons, the Gauntlet. He competed during the formative years of the franchise before the challenge evolved into the large-scale competition show it is today. Not to mention you're older. Away from television, Nathaniel has been open about difficult chapters in his life, including addiction, alcoholism, mental health struggles, homelessness, and emotional fallout that followed reality TV fame. In later interviews and podcast appearances, he has described recovery and faith as a major turning point that has reshaped his life and identity. Today, he goes by Nathaniel Blackburn and is the founder and executive director of True North Retreats, a faith-centered nonprofit focused on men's retreats, mentorship, healing, and recovery work. The organization creates spaces for men to process struggles around identity, purpose, trauma, addiction, and spiritual growth. I'll throw up truenorthretreats.org on the screen. Nathaniel now lives in Nashville with his family and continues speaking publicly about recovery, transformation, masculinity, and the long road from reality TV notoriety to personal healing.
Wow.
How was that?
I mean, dude, you are a wizard. But also I want to go thanks, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
My guy. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. That was super kind. And I would say probably paints me as the hero in that a little bit too much versus who really is. And that's God.
Yeah.
But man, it's hard to hear that stuff sometimes. I'm learning to kind of meet not accolades, but positivity around things that happen. You know, my ego can be such a problem that, in recovery, you learn that really quickly, and you've got to kind of kill that ego in a daily way. And I would later learn that being a follower of Christ is daily death too, right? It's kind of one and the same. And if I don't do that well, I just fall into old patterns.
Yeah, I've always said ego is not your amigo.
That's
I think
perfect.
I learned that in business.
Let's
even.
do a T-shirt on that.
Yeah, right, right.
Big seller.
ego is not your amigo, and it works certainly well in the recovery space, but it's something that I always realize too, even in business, is that if I was making decisions all in a box on my own, then it never could be as good. Sometimes they could be correct, but they never were as good if I worked, inside kind of a cohort or a group of folks that could help me identify the blind spots that we all have. Dude. And so that's super important. I want to go back in time because I thought that's interesting. So you're from West Virginia or Virginia?
Virginia.
Virginia, okay. Yeah. And you were at VMI. I mean, how did you get to VMI? I want to make sure that if you like what we're doing, I mean, again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You wouldn't believe that most of you, and I see it because you'll comment and you don't even realize that you haven't subscribed to the show. It is a free way to support what we're doing and the content we're putting out. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just for those that don't know, I am a man of faith today. I was not then. And when I say that, I want to say that I am a follower of Christ. Very imperfectly, and I mess things up all the time today. The difference today as a believer is I become more aware of my need for God today than I was when I wasn't a believer by the process of surrender and asking God, like, hey, what still needs to change in me? I think, and I'll answer your question, I promise, but I just want to, I think people get the word believer and they could tune out or something, right? Like, because they've been hurt by other believers or whatever it may be. Yeah. I just want to say, listen, stick through this interview. Let's see what God does with this. But I'm a mess of a guy today that's in process with God. Back then I was not. I was just a young man that was really hurt as a child by the circumstances of life. And VMI became probably the first part of my life that I could look backwards and see God working for me, even without me acknowledging Him.
Did you choose to go to? I mean,
yes, but I did, but it was through circumstances around me that I didn't seek out.
Okay.
So I was an athlete, and I was a pretty good athlete when it came to track and field, and had some opportunities. Georgia Tech, Florida State, other schools. And I was on my own. My dad died when I was 15. My mom left when I was 7.
Who were you with?
So my dad's mom came in to take care of me when my father passed. And she was just ill-equipped to really handle a 15-year-old boy who hadn't really grieved his father. Right. But my grandmother was a believer who came to faith later in life, but she was unaware of how her portrayal of she was good-hearted in that she wanted to go make disciples of everyone. Mm-hmm. Her approach to that was aggressive and kind of fire and brimstone-y, right? Yeah. Southern Baptist, you're going to hell kind of thing.
Right.
And so I just...
God bless her.
God bless her.
Right. You grow up in that culture, and that's what you know, right?
And I'm out. I saw the hypocrisy. I didn't understand the gospel.
Sure.
I thought when you became a believer, you were fixed. And so how could you... So then, wait a minute, I see my grandmother's brokenness... But you say you're with God and everything's okay. I'm kind of like, you've been bamboozled.
Right.
As everyone else has in the religious world. I thought that was for suckers. Yeah. And so I just kind of remember going, hey, no one's coming to save you. The world's really effed up.
Yeah.
And I got to go figure it out. And so I remember thinking, I'm just going to go to one of these great schools, have a great college experience. And then my 3 best friends were all going to VMI. And I still didn't even know what VMI was. And I grew up in Virginia. I knew it was a military academy, but my codependence with them and wanting to be with them and their families had kind of pseudo-familied me, after my dad died. Okay. And I just remember going, so tell me about VMI. And they're like, man, it's like an incredible place to be from, terrible place to be at, super hard to get into. I was like, oh, I won't get in. But you know what, let me apply. And I remember, I remember saying my first prayer ever.
Really?
It was that, God, man, please get me into VMI.
Come on. Come on.
Because I wanted to be with them. And surprisingly, man, I got in. I got athletic scholarship. And so I remember choosing to go with those guys. And the first day I was there, I instantly regretted it.
Yeah, because you get thrown into the deep end, right?
Bro.
I mean, is it like you go through somewhat of a basic
9
training,
months.
right?
Not somewhat. No.
Not somewhat. You go through it.
We were the last all-male class. And so it is vastly different today.
Okay.
This is not Nathaniel being a sexist. This is Nathaniel just saying that
That's what it was.
A male-driven, single-sex education system that is built to break the individual and build the team. That's exactly what VMI's been around for 200 years, right?
Yeah.
That changed me. And that process is no longer available because a man cannot break another man the way you can if a woman's present. You just can't. Okay, because then you open yourself up to all these other things.
You've got the ego. You've got. I've got to
but then you're
stand
like,
out.
but then like a guy talks to a guy a certain way.
Okay.
That can be very offensive to a woman if she hears it.
So they kind of had to measure some things down.
They changed it. It's different. It's different. So when we were there, you were less than trash.
Yeah.
Your
I've
freshman
heard
year.
stories of like the Naval Academy too, like
Same.
plebes and stuff like
Theirs
that.
is a lighter touch than ours. So, no offense to the Naval Academy or West Point, and I think if they really are honest with themselves, they'll understand this too. Like VMI, whatever.
Yeah.
I think if you don't get into VMI, you try West Point in Annapolis.
Really?
That's where we stand.
That's where you stood with it.
Yeah, I mean, they only take a couple hundred guys a year.
What branch were you going into?
They have all 4.
So you
that's the
could
big
choose
difference.
after.
You choose while you're there.
Okay.
And so
Well, did you go into the military?
I was going to go into the Air Force as a commissioned officer to flight school. I qualified in my AFOQT for flight school.
Okay.
In my senior year, I get cast on the show.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Did that changed your trajectory right then?
Not right then.
Okay.
Pardon me. Sorry, you guys.
No, it's fine. It's just the viewers. Make sure you support my boys here at Floors.com. We're in their studio right now. That's FLOOR. Z.com, baby. Floors.com. They will take care of all your remodeling and new build needs. Floors.com. Check them out. Tell them the Jabroni sent you. So I got to tell you about my friends over at True North Pest Control. True North Pest Control, they take care of all them critters. You got palmetto bugs, they take care of them. You got ants, they got you. You got bugs, little flying around, they'll spray for them. They clean out all the cobwebs. They're all over Central Florida, here in the Emerald Coast, and then the whole state of Georgia. Check them out, TrueNorthPestControl.com. They are your pest control superheroes.
Not bad, guys.
It's fine for me.
Yeah. So getting off the show, the profound life change that was created as a result of being on that show. I was back at VMI, finishing my senior year, and back then in the late 90s, cell phones were pretty rare. And we had a phone bank, right? Like payphone bank down in barracks that you would go to. But if anybody you couldn't get a direct call from the outside. It would have to go to the comptroller, and then you get a message. I'd get back from class, and I would have a stack of messages on my desk from ESPN and MTV and CBS and a manager and an agent. There were all these people that were like, "Hey, we want to offer you this or offer you that."
Yeah.
And I had this part of me why I tried out for the show was I wanted to be in entertainment. You know, I didn't know this then, but what I know now is that I wanted to be anything but me.
Wow.
And acting and kind of performing, I could do that. And I felt that I could do that. And so Real World was really, for me, going, okay, I've got a really screwed up story. They cast people with really traumatic backgrounds.
Yeah,
I'm not affected by mine. I mean, that's what I really believed. I was like, I never cried. You know, like I never told anyone I'd been molested. Like I didn't tell anyone about my mom leaving and like just all the things. But I was like, I'm going to use this to get on that show, and this will give me an advantage. And so that's really where self-reliance begins its journey in my heart of manipulation. Like, all right, no one's coming to save you. How do I do this? And so, all right, you know what? This makes sense. Let me go ahead and milk this story, to see if I can get on the show. And it worked.
Wow.
Like, in the process of even getting on the show, like, my girlfriend at the time's mother had found my mother online in the late 90s when online was still weird dial-up stuff, right? And MTV catches wind of this, and they're like, do you want to meet your mom? During the casting process, I'm like, yes. They're like, can we film it? And I was like, why, yes, you can.
Wow.
Because I'm going like, I don't really care about meeting my mom. Wow. But I know this is another step to that. And so they filmed it. They filmed me meeting my mom, and it was on the show and all that kind of stuff. But I still was such so unaware. I say all that to again say, it got me on the show. The doors started to open, and I had a choice. I wanted to have a choice, military or acting. And so I had to go to the commandant of the school because I was going to go in. I was on the track of commission. And they allowed me to renounce my commission. And they were like, you're making a big mistake. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not, and so, didn't have to go into the military and instead moved to New York.
Unbelievable. So and then you've answered a lot of the questions I had in just the sense, where did you hear about that because for people listening, and I know that because MTV started out as a music television network where, you would see music videos from all your favorite artists.
Yeah.
And then they realized, though, people really liked reality TV and really kind of were the first discoverers of reality TV, right?
So
the New York one was season one.
Season one, but up to ours,
you guys were y'all 2 or?
We were 7.
Oh, you were season 7.
We were season 7, and at that point in television, there still wasn't reality shows. We were still the test case. And so unfortunately, we are why you watch the Kardashians today.
Right.
It opened the floodgates to that stuff. And if you're young and not understanding what we're talking about listening, MTV was the YouTube of that time.
Sure. Right.
Right.
And they would try anything. In fact, the whole gear behind The Real World was 7 people.
Yeah. Seven people. Used to be strangers until our season. They had to change it to people because we knew each other.
It's 7 strangers, but then it's 7 people. Yeah. They were
picked to live in a house.
Picked to live in a house.
Yeah. Have their lives taped.
Yep.
See what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real.
Start getting real. You still remember it. That is awesome, Nathaniel. That was the gist of it.
And if you
That's Jersey Shores before Jersey Shores.
Before all that. And if you were our age or a little older or a little younger, then that was an influencer. That was pre being an influencer, YouTube, all that stuff. That's what that was.
So that's what I was going to tell you is that we on the car ride over here, we were talking, and I've known you for a little bit now before this car ride, but I knew we were about the same age. But literally, you graduated 1 year ahead of me in high school, and I guess assuming college the same way. So when your season came out in '98, I was graduating college the next year.
Yeah.
So I'm watching.
Totally.
Your season, because you're right.
Sunday marathons,
it's all my age group.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of the stuff that we were doing.
Totally.
So
and it was. I mean, I would say
feeling,
and I think that's why it hit right. Like for the first number of seasons, probably up to I think Hawaii is when it changed, which was 1 or 2 after us.
Yeah, I lost it.
Yeah, like it just started being about who could be the ones doing the ... to get the views.
I feel like Las Vegas was probably the last one I watched.
Sure. Yeah, and like that one
I also outgrew it.
Yeah, we outgrew it. But it also it changed because it wasn't so relatable. Like what was so beautiful about those first seasons was that like we were living what you were asking in your heart, but too scared to ask. We were living what you've experienced, yet didn't know that anyone else was experiencing that, right? Like it was such a, people were like, why was your season so popular?
You didn't know what to not say.
No, and that's
you didn't know what to do to get more airtime or to create your own storyline.
No, and you have to make a decision. Like early on, the blessing of having David on the show with me was that he knew me and I knew him. And we made a deal going in, hey, if you start not being David and I see you not being Nathan, like if you're trying to be an elevated version of yourself, I'm going to tell you and vice versa.
Okay.
And so after about a week there, we had a little sit down and it was like, hey, man.
Just a pair of you.
Just us.
Off camera.
Off camera.
Okay.
Like, dude, this is feeling performative and I kind of feel it too. And like, okay, let's just like screw it. Like, let's do it. And so then we try to just be true. And mind you, the camera life, which was called the fourth wall, they had become experts at not being a part of what we were doing.
Okay.
Meaning, you're wearing a mic that has an incredible reach on it. Like the cameras could be 100 yards away. Right? So you're mic'd up, but then you're just kind of
You just forget about it.
You just forget about it. And like we were all there. We just kind of honored while we were there. It was such a thing back then that I can't help. I just can't explain to anyone who didn't see it or be around it that it was such a frontier of something different and special that was happening. I mean, it was the #1 show in 96 countries.
Yeah, it's insane.
Insane.
It's insane.
It's insane.
And I think that you're right, because I think what reality television has come to, which it's now its own category, and and when you look at it, there's now competitions that are now reality TV.
Yeah.
There are now teen shows, dating shows, all reality TV. There's all these concepts that I don't know, and I think part of it's because we all like to rubberneck. We all like to see a train wreck. Voyeurism. But what's interesting is when I hear some of like the housewives and the things like that, I hear a lot of the critique is you've got to create a storyline.
Totally.
And so many times, I think to a degree it's real because they're living.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times that it's like they go into the season knowing this is the chaos I want to create, or this is the thing I want to do because I've got to become relevant to stay on this show.
Brand building.
You guys weren't doing any of that.
No.
Or you didn't come out with any of that.
No.
You didn't have your own like hot chicken or new purse line or whatever.
No, and the thing is like that was, I think for us, the authenticity of what that was like, you just knew not to do that. It would taint kind of the gift that it was. I mean, 7 people out of hundreds of thousands of people apply for that show, and then you kind of have a mantle to carry. Like, I got to be real here, and like, this isn't about a brand building kind of thing. And that wasn't even a thought.
But it turned into that though.
100%.
That's where they kind of, I guess that's probably when they saw the viewership get it. And we're kind of in a cycle again where I think we're starting to see authenticity want to come back into the world.
Yeah.
I saw interviews, or I think it was on Reels I saw on social, where these people got up to speak at graduations and they would talk about the age of AI. And all the students would start booing the commencement speaker.
Yeah, good.
So it's kind of like, hey, I mean, where I think AI can be helpful, certainly, and I lean into it where I can. I do think, having real conversations and face-to-face and being involved with people and relationships, that's where meaning's found in life and where purpose is these interactions. But at any rate.
I hope that is real.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple narratives going on out there that one is the large broad brush of like, hey, we are devolving into an isolative thing that will not have human contact and we won't need to because of all this, da 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 da. And then I hear from other people, and in my own experience, like this is meaningful. Like having a conversation with no agenda other than let's just have a conversation. Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, hey, how many, what's the percentage you would guess of online purchases versus in-person purchases? And I was like, oh, that's probably not even, it's probably 90-10. And they're like, which way? And I'm like, 90% online. And they said, would it shock you to tell you it's actually the opposite?
Really?
80-20. 80% in person.
Still in person.
That doesn't follow any kind of narrative I'm seeing on any of the screens that I talk to, but that's encouraging to me.
Well, I talked to a number of people, and I didn't do a Harvard study. I did a Jason Becker study, but I talked to a number of adults that were working in offices, and there were articles I read too that seemed to point this direction. But during COVID, people, you talk to them and you would think because they could work from home that they'd be happier. But what they found is because they worked from home, they really worked more. And they were working all the time because there's nobody telling them to quit. They would lean into it. They try to get work done. And so there are probably moments and times where maybe they think they could take the day off. But the other thing is not only are they working, seemingly more, but the other part of it was they had no real interaction. So when they were doing these Zoom meetings, they were finally talking to other people on their team, but it was all about work. And so there's no water cooler. speak, so to be.
Yeah.
And where if you're a manager in a company, you might be like, now you might say we need to cut out all the chit chat and the gossip and all.
Work.
Look, gossip's bad. Don't be gossiping. But checking in on somebody to say, "How's your mom doing?" is not gossip.
Yeah.
Or how's your son doing? Or how was your weekend? Those kind of things matter. And so it's interesting now that we're getting back in. And so personal touch matters. And so I'm interested to see where this AI goes. I mean, there's a push, and then there'll probably be a push back, which I'm starting to see. So hopefully we'll just see, maybe it integrate seamlessly. But us humans get most things wrong, so I'm about ready for that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not going to be surprised there. So I wanted to ask you as well, and I don't want to dwell on the MTV stuff, but I think it's so interesting with the reality television and where we are in that world today. Anybody pump you up? Any producers pump you up though to like really? Because you guys had a slap heard around the real world, and I mean you had a by the way, I for research went and watched it back.
Yeah.
So I watched it back. I saw the stuffed animal thrown in. I saw Irene say to Steven, "We would never be married."
Yeah.
Because you're a homosexual. I saw him run down there, open the door, and slap. But I didn't experience it. You guys, I mean, and man, it was jazzed up. The producers came and sat down with you the next episode and said, "You need to see the video and put it in." And what's that like? Were they behind the scenes pumping you up or anything like that?
No. I hate to burst anyone's bubble here that wants to think the conspirator side of things that they, that we were being led, in a certain way. They didn't need to. They had the process dialed. And one of my buddies to this day, who was a director on our season, he and I got together for the first time in 20 years in Nashville a few months ago. And I've always kind of had these questions in my mind that, like, they must have had incredible therapists and psychologists in the casting room to kind of pick these personalities because, put them, these 7 time bombs together and give them booze and have them cameras around and watch the fireworks go off. And he just kind of giggled and he goes, I love that you give us that much credit. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, dude, it just happened, man.
Yeah.
Like there was no planning on our part from MTV, which is Bunham and Murray. It wasn't MTV; it was a production company called Bunham and Murray. And he just said, "Dude, we found gold, man. We weren't looking for gold, right? It was this thing of we had no idea that the public would respond in such a way to reality, and we just had to be true to reality. Now, was there some picking of personalities that there was hope would be clash? Of course. You can see that in every one of the casts.
There's creative editing and the post-production.
No, that editing was dialed.
All?
Ours was dialed. Yeah. Like, dude, they didn't, again, because of...
So what you saw in that season, especially around those 2 episodes, felt for you
authentic.
How you felt you lived it.
Yeah, and I would say, in the heat of the moment there... When they show us the video, the chivalrousness in young David and Nathan of like, oh, he's got to go, and then also kind of coalescing to this need for him to be healed and go, well, maybe Steven just needs, anger management, and like as opposed to today, like I would have fought for Irene, not for Steven in that way, right? And poor Irene, I think, got the shaft in all of this. In that she wasn't taken care of in the process.
Oh, she was put out.
Yeah.
Well, she's putting herself out to begin with. She put
herself out, and she would even say today that, there's the truth somewhere in the middle there, right?
Yeah.
But like today, if that were to have happened in today's culture and environment, right? Like Irene would have had more care put her way. And instead she became the pariah. Yeah. And Steven became...
Well, do you think that's because like she outed him? I mean, he didn't. He wasn't out to the public. Though,
no, he wasn't. He wasn't.
Yeah. But you all knew.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know if you know, right? Like, I mean, who am I to say?
Right.
It was a pretty darn large guess on
good
our
guess,
part.
yeah.
You know, and I mean, you know, everyone has a cross to bear, man.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, she did get kind of the
she knew what she was doing.
yeah.
She knew that she was. I don't think she thought that would come out of it, but she knew that something explosive would.
Yeah.
You know, and so she poked the bear, and
And
he
he-
reacted inappropriately, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, today reality TV contracts are written off our season.
I was
mean,
going to say you
that was
first.
the
That was like
first-
the first physical interaction.
physical
Yep.
abuse, drug usage. I mean, like all that stuff was.
All that was there,
Yeah,
and y'all were working at a radio station.
yeah, man.
How was that?
It was awesome. We got to, you know, hang out with Eddie Vedder and,
Yeah.
and cool interview Oasis and all these different bands.
Well, you had some alumni from that show go on into
Yeah.
like the one girl went into news,
Yeah.
and I think the other one went into like she. So I remember her-
Rachel's on Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
That's the lead host there. That was
Yeah.
Rachel Campos. She was
Right.
on one of the earlier seasons. She married Sean, who's the director of transportation in the administration today.
Wow.
Sean Duffy, who is a
Okay.
congressman. Mike the Miz is
Yeah, he's
WWE
WWE
wrestler.
wrestler.
Theo Vaughn obviously is a big-
podcaster and comedian.
yeah.
But then I think Lindsay on your season was on the Burt Show in Atlanta, which is a massively syndicated.
Yeah, I just talked
morning
to her
show.
for the first time in 20 years. She's in Tampa, married, kids, and a restaurant owner.
Come on. Yeah. So everybody's figured their way in life
Somewhat,
over the time, somewhat. So you get done with that. I read somewhere or saw an interview somewhere that your season's over. You shared with us that you went your commander and were able to go to New York and start figuring things out. MTV's calling you back for these new challenge series, which if anybody's watching or listening, whoever's listening today, you can Google the challenge today. And these guys that are on the challenge they are some real athletes on this challenge. Some of these guys that's their whole world. You look like Johnny Bananas. I mean, this guy like trains for doing this stuff, and he's in his 40s now. I don't know how he's doing it. But and he's probably an old school. Like the younger ones coming out.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's.
They're
my era.
like, he's kind of obviously a little younger than us, but he was your era. He's the last of them left holding on, you know.
Yeah.
But the challenge originally was kind of pinning this reality TV series, which the road rules versus the real world, and you would do these extreme challenges and see who'd come on top.
Yep.
I think you made it to the finals in all
I
of
made
your
it in
seasons.
all the ones I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made it to the finals, but they call you back to come onto the challenge. What has now, like I said, it's this massive competition now. But they call you back to come on this challenge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you had been basically doing drugs and all this before you even showed up on it.
Well, that was my last one.
Your
yeah,
last
so yeah, so leaving the show, go to New York, say yes to some representation management. I want to be considered and try to do the acting thing for real. Quickly learned that what I thought would be a foot in the right direction with the real world on my resume was actually a hindrance to acting, as you were more recognizable as Nathan versus the character you would be portraying because it was such a popular show.
Okay.
So there was a real kind of, and I was told, hey, if you really want to be taken serious, you got to go to school.
Okay.
I'm like, school for acting? And they're like,
Right.
yeah. So I go to Movement Studio in New York and I do that whole thing. I get on soap operas and I start doing the acting stuff. Meanwhile, MTV is calling left and right, come do this stuff and come host this and host that. And so I was hosting a bunch of different things. And then they would ask about the challenges, which were just starting to go on. And I say yes to a couple. But then my management's like, hey, the more of those you do, the less you're going to be taken serious in this world
Makes
over here.
sense.
So stop doing them. So there was then a nice, a multi-year break for me from MTV where I was in LA and New York booking real gigs, commercials, TV shows, all that kind of stuff.
When you were hosting stuff, were you doing like Spring Break MTV
Oh,
stuff?
yeah, I did. Excuse me. Yeah, my first spring break I hosted was with Brittany down out of Tampa, cruise ship, the spring break cruise ship. With and
They paying you for these gigs?
Oh yeah.
Did you feel like it was good money?
For a young 22, 23-year-old guy, yeah.
Kept you in New York?
Yeah, and then I had a public speaking gig, man. Like that. Colleges used to pay real world stars,
really,
$3 to $5K for an hour's worth of work on stage.
What was your talk on?
Nothing. It was just answering questions from the audience. That's it. They just wanted the college kids wanted to party with you, and so you would.
And colleges would pay you to come in to do this?
I mean, I get booked. Well, I'd get booked with, Norm from season 1 or Puck from San Fran, and we'd go to West Virginia and Saturday night be in the Common whatever auditorium, and there'd be it'd be sold out, and they would just ask us questions about our seasons for an hour. And then
you get party.
And then I would always end with, "Hey, we came here to party. Where are we going tonight?" And then there would be like, our house, and then
you're on.
So I say all that to answer your original question.
No, tell me.
So when I was in the film and television world doing this public speaking, I was really introduced and given access to the drugs and alcohol. And I would shoot a commercial for 2 days, and you would make 70 or 80K from that commercial over the course of a year. Well, if you do 3 or 4 commercials, like as a young kid, you're making real money. Yeah. What do you do in between all that? For me, I was lost and loved the party. And if you're not careful in New York and LA, when you have means, you get inside the VIP ropes of that lifestyle. And without God in my life, good people in my life, family in my life, like you don't realize how quickly you're pulled down into the depths of enslavement. And then your body changes. Then you become addicted physically to this kind of stuff, right? And so that started to happen to me, 4 or 5 years coming off that show, and slowly but surely, the drugs and alcohol became my master. And I didn't even see it happeing.
Did you touch any of that at VMI? I mean,
no.
You're so strict. You
drank. I mean, yeah, of course.
Okay.
We did some hallucinogens. Sorry, VMI. Had a Dave Matthews show or two, right?
I watched that commander when he sent you and David off. He said, "Y'all represent us well." Did they feel like you did when you came back?
Yeah, totally.
I felt like you did. You were stand-up guys on the show. Yeah. It looked like that's what you were trying to do. Yeah. You did have to go through a long-term girlfriend that you had then.
Yeah, Stephanie. Yeah, man, she's whatever. That was a young love, right?
Yeah, that you had to go through that on television. Yeah, because they gave you a nice little send off there on that scene too.
Which one was that?
When I think you were telling her bye or whatever.
They gave us video cameras, which was the first time anyone ever had a video camera.
Okay.
It was a storyline I think a lot of people could have related to back then, but
so you weren't really dabbling in all that stuff though, and then now, but then you had discipline in your life from VMI. I mean, but you also had this lack of discipline probably prior to VMI still inside you.
Yeah, and I would say lack of discipline wasn't it? It's just like I had no authority in my life, right? I could do what I wanted when I wanted, and I had everything that told me I was okay from a financial perspective, right? Like I was handed great success right out of the gate, and so from a worldly standpoint, man, I'm making more money than I ever thought I would make in my life. People know who I am; they want to be around me. People want my autograph. I'm getting invited to this and to that. People like Method Man are coming up to me, going, "Oh my God, you're my guy," and I'm sitting there going, "Like I love you, Method." What do you mean I'm your guy?
You're my guy.
So all of that stuff was really this facade that was growing and building of just falseness, right? Like the worship of others in the world. So I don't see that secretly inside I'm being invaded, and I'm being invaded by the drugs and alcohol, and then physically addicted, and then that's which I will say today, way down the road from that, it quieted the voices inside. And the voices inside in my head and in my life were ones that were born out of the tragedies of my childhood. Okay. Now, then we can kind of talk spiritually, right? So I have no idea spiritually that I have a true enemy and forces of evil that want to subdue and capture, right, me. Above my pay grade theologically. I don't understand.
Kill, steal, and destroy.
Kill, steal, and destroy. Right? And I don't know that, what does it mean if you're chosen? Right? Does that mean that in the spiritual realm, little Nathan back then had a mark on him in some way, some form that said to the spiritual world, that's my son, right? we could get into predestination or election, all these different things that I don't think anybody knows the answer to, yet we fight over for no reason. But it kind of gets me kind of thinking, like, when I think of my childhood and when I think of my young adult life, the messages that I heard on a regular basis was something is wrong with you. They're not going to like you. You're not enough. Now, I don't even think I'm aware to the honest internal conversation that's happening until years later, after the Lord lets me fall down so many times and come to the face of suicide before I would say yes to him. And in saying yes to him, over the years, he's walked me backwards, holding my hand into those voices and parts of my life to then confront them. So like today, coming here, I know that the fragmented parts of my life that were born out of the trauma of my life will still try to direct me today. Now, I used to think, oh, it's this crazy spiritual battle that we're trying to be enslaved all the time, and the flaming arrows. Yeah. Yes, I believe that is true, but I don't believe it's true to the extent that like everything is spiritual warfare. I think the majority of my sin, the majority of my selfishness is me. And I think the spiritual forces in the world that is built by the prince of the air is designed to lure me really into me and my desires. So saying all of that craziness, like, and doing the work I've been able to do with other men and with God primarily, like, I know apart from God today, I will come in here and my old self, the fragmented pieces of my flesh that need your approval will perform for Jason, for the audience, because really, like, apart from God,
you like
over
to
here.
Perform.
Well, yeah, but
you want acceptance.
And so I gotta reset, re-anchor myself in the morning before I come here. That go, wait, God, I'm your son. You say I'm chosen. I'm yours. Help me be yours today. Help me not need to be theirs.
So you said you don't remember. And those are good points, by the way. I don't want to just gloss over that. It's very good points. You said though that when you were younger, these are voices that were in your head. But you don't know that were those questions loud to you? You couldn't identify them then.
I don't think I could identify them then.
But they were there.
They were there for sure. Because like I've been able to look back.
And you felt better when people accepted you. So the question was there, but you just felt better when you performing.
Well, yeah, and then
you felt better when you were the center of attention.
Of
you
felt
better when people were like, "I love you," told you that. They didn't have to show you that in real love. No. They just had to tell you that.
No, it just satiated.
I need your autograph.
Yeah, it satiated an appetite of my need of approval.
Yeah, performance-based.
Which was all born out of the circumstances of my life, right?
Yeah.
And then, I'm handed the golden ticket at 21 and behind the VIP line to go be with all the things the world says are success. Money, famous people, all those things, and eventually they stop working, right? And so those voices start to creep back in. Well, what then really works? Oh, the drugs. Right. I don't remember making that conscious decision, but I know that's what happened.
Did you feel like you could control the drugs? Like, so in other words, when I talk to a lot of addicts, I hear this sentiment a lot, but that you could put, like, you felt like you party when you party, but you were on when you were on.
Totally. And then eventually you lose that control.
Yeah.
You just do. And again, I think it's one of those things like, I wouldn't change a thing today.
Did you ever burn any bridges through the drugs you were doing?
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Yeah.
And then I'd build it back up and I'd blow it up again.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Man, for 11 years.
What'd that look like?
Feeling remorse for letting people down yet again because of my choice to do drugs, right? Coming open-handed, begging for forgiveness, yet again, and meaning it. Mm-hmm. And then the authenticity of meaning it, them seeing that, and then me spitting in the face of that forgiveness only to satiate the desire yet again, right? Mm-hmm. And let them down yet again, over and over and over again, right? And I think that's the attrition that most people feel with an addict or an alcoholic in their life, right? And it's a confusing place to be, especially if it's a family member, because, and a believer, because then you're supposed to love the individual, right, and forgive them. And what I've done over the last 12 years of my life is help other family members go, well, actually, how you love an alcoholic and an addict is you let them fall.
Yeah, you gotta get to the rock
They've got
bottom.
They've got to find whatever depth is required for them to surrender. That's it.
There's no other way.
There's no other way.
Well, when you were in that moment where you get forgiveness, and this is, I don't know if you can go back there or remember, because and you probably can, it's tough, but because you, like you said, you would come back and you ask forgiveness and you genuinely mean it.
Yeah.
Like in your heart, you're good. Like you're a good person. You're not trying to hurt people. Mm-hmm. You would genuinely ask for forgiveness. But then, like you said, there you are. Wherever you go, therefore I am. So there you are, ready to do the thing again that you had just asked for forgiveness. Would that come across your mind? Like, why am I doing this? Would that ever enter like in that moment?
Yes. So the answer to that is yes and no. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's a early on, there is this conscience that you have, right? Everybody has. Yeah. And you convince yourself that, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But eventually that goes away. Yeah. Right. Like, and then, the more you harden your heart towards that part of
you don't have to justify it as hard anymore.
No. And then you just kind of come to this really solemn place of acceptance.
This is who I am.
This is who I am. It's never going to change. F it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me say this about addicts and alcoholics too. Yeah. Like, hey, I don't want to let addicts and alcoholics off the hook, right? Like, somewhere along the way, we lose the ability to choose. We really do. Mm-hmm. Meaning, I will then later towards the end of my addiction, I would know what I was doing was going to cause harm, but I could not do it. And I don't want to let people off the hook in that way. I made choices for years that led me to that point. Right, so I have
all the inhibitions were gone.
Yeah, my responsibility in that was not stopping the train way back when I could have.
Yeah,
and look, I don't know, man. I can't wait to find out at the feast. Like, was all of this ordained? Like, of course, I made choices along the way, but was it kind of ordained for me to have the story I have to then come to the end of myself?
It's so
that
weird.
I would choose God.
I think that's a great question. And what I love about you, Nathaniel, is that you're still so curious. And you're asking all these questions.
We have to.
And I think it's important because you even started off the conversation that I'm a believer now, but you don't want to turn anybody off. And you're not like trying to be in this judgmental world and you don't have all the answers. And I think that's so important sometimes as a believer is to let people know that if you're not a believer, it's totally cool. Like nobody's trying to convince you of anything.
And we can't give you, I can't give you faith anyway.
Well, yeah. And I don't have all the answers.
No,
like I've not been to heaven and come back. I don't have, a picture book about it or whatever it is, And so I'm doing the best I can, but there are certain things and interactions in life that shape us. And so that question you have, I often wonder, like, was all this done so that I could? Of course, part of it is this idea that I did all of these things, but yet it still can be. So the other reframing is in other words, that I did it all, but yes, God can use it. Versus like, did he allow it so that he could use it?
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting reframe that, I don't have the answer for it either. And it is one of those things that we'll have to find out. I did want to tell you, though, that this verse always stuck out with me, and I think it's Romans 7, where Paul is writing to the Romans and from Rome, and he's saying, why do I do the things that I don't want to do, but yet I do them anyway?
Come on.
And that is like the addict verse right there, right?
Well, can I jump in on this one?
Yes. Well, yeah, we're here for that.
Come on. There's a providence in the Lord and His timing. I'm studying that right now. Because I think there's a disconnect with believers around sin. And it's that, like, we come into the family by our, repentance and belief. So it's not just, hey, I believe in God, like an altar call thing. It has to be real repentance and belief, right? And then we find ourselves kind of like, wait a minute, I'm still doing the thing I don't want to do. Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. And earlier in the book there, in the New Testament, Paul talks about when you believed, you were sealed with the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. So the Holy Spirit is then time and time again called our helper, our comforter, to bring into remembrance, right? Like the battle of the flesh and the spirit. Later in chapter 8 in Romans, that's what it talks about. Well, before I became a believer, I had no spirit in me, if we really believe we're born dead, you know, like today, I recognize as a believer that I'm an evil man. Like, let's be real about that. Like, I still have selfishness and self-centeredness that I think the Lord wants to work out in me, right? And that becomes by the power of the Holy Spirit, am I able to weigh and measure what's going on? Because I think too often believers can go to the verse you just said and go like, well, I'm just a sinner saved by grace. A beggar found the bread line, and I'm always going to sin. Like, no, well, wait a minute. I think that by the power of the Holy Spirit, who we're called into relationship with and submission to on a daily basis, it says in Scripture too, God will never tempt you past what you can handle. So as a sinner, now as a believer, I am aware that, like, let's say lust has a grip on my life with pornography. I could sit back and go, man, I do what I don't want to do, but I'm still saved by grace. Or I could go, wait a minute, the Holy Spirit, you're in here. Hey, God, you're calling me not to sin in this way anymore. I hate that this is in me. Will you help me? Then what I see happen in my life is that when the temptation of lust comes into play, there's a split second where I feel the Holy Spirit encouraging me, reminding me like, hey, you don't have to do that right now. And actually you're doing it because you're feeling unwanted. Or, hey, you're actually doing this right now because you're trying to satiate the need of approval in some way. And then this is where I think the age-old free will comes into play. Like, the Spirit reminds me, and then I have a choice, right? And so I think to say that as a sinner today, because alcoholism and addiction, right, like, is also a sin, and I needed spiritual intervention to help me in that way. And so the addict alcoholic, just like the thief, or hey, the guy that's full of pride, like, let's just be real here. Sin is sin. And I hate how we elevate certain sin and forget that, like, my call is to look at my heart with the Lord and go, Jesus, what needs to die in me today? Jesus, what needs to change in me? All too often, me included, I will look outwardly at others and judge what they're doing and miss the plank in my eye. And I can't love other people well, and I want to explain that too. I can't love other people well unless I'm walking the walk myself in that confession, dependence, surrender of my own sin, which is not gone. And once I get a hold on the lust with God, he, you know, and I kind of have an exhale, he's like, hey buddy, we're not done. Hey, now let's look at this, because there's no arrival point. None of us are perfect. None of us will be perfect on this side of heaven, but we're called into sanctification. And sanctification is the process by which we offer ourselves to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to be fine-tuned and chiseled into representatives for the kingdom. Well, so if I'm not looking at my little K kingdom with God, asking what needs to change and die, taking an inventory of what's going on here, how the heck can I ever think I'm going to be attractive to the non-believer? Right?
Yeah.
To like point out, or even in my brothers who are believers, like, I just think all too often, man, we're throwing stones in glass houses and our house is on fire.
Well, for sure, I would agree with you there. There's a lot to unpack there, Nathaniel. You went down there. Yeah, a couple of things that I would probably push back on is that I do agree that that there are folks that take sin lightly. In other words, say that I'm saved by grace and therefore I can. I probably fall more on like, sure, you can. All sin, it's all permissible, but is it beneficial? And so I would say that there's some, and I think there's, and that's, I will tell you, this is the beauty of our faith. I think that Jesus sees, and there's so many different rich history in our faith of people that probably lean and where they need to feel Jesus. Because I've been in rooms of addicts that need a very stern fire and brimstone Jesus.
Sure.
They need it.
Yeah.
They need it because if they step out of line one more time, they could die.
Yeah.
And then I've been around people that need just the heavy dose of grace, Jesus. And I'm like, well, you can live there. And then there are manipulators in the world, and they've got things to solve. So I see what you're saying, and ultimately, I did certainly agree with a lot of what you're saying. But I think that the grace part for me, I think, is super overwhelming, because I've always felt like if I do anything at all, one step that I do for my salvation, I may very well have cheapened the cross. It's only what he did for me that I have a right relationship.
Oh, I'm
you know what I
with
mean?
you on that.
And I know you are. I know
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are. I know you are. And I'm not. And that's what. This isn't a debate, by the way.
No. I love
I'm
it.
just sharing with
Dude, I
my
want to
heart.
be,
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't have this thing figured out. I want to learn from each other
Right.
and grow and be wrong. And
100%.
Because his grace.
Right. Because of it,
Yeah.
I can do anything.
Yeah.
But because of it, so for me, I see it through a lens that says, I don't want to do any. I want to honor what was done for me, and not to mention that I believe the things, like prayer, the things like treating people better than myself, the things of giving grace, the things for offering forgiveness, those things are available to you, whether you believe in this guy that, said he was God, walked the earth, died, and rose again. Whether you believe in that or not, those things work, right? I mean, that's part of AA,
let me ask you
right?
this. Well, yeah, but let me ask you this. Do you think that apart from a relationship with God, that someone can actually do those things from a pure place?
So I would venture to say it's possible. Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, I know some really good folks that live, that are atheists, that are really genuinely really nice people and really good people.
So this is this is what the Lord's bringing me into.
Yeah.
I want to agree with you, and I have agreed with you in the past, and I think it's been out of my uncomfortableness of Scripture.
Yeah.
Because Scripture says there's not one righteous, not one.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So then, because then that's what kind of like, oh man, I don't know. Like, I was a year sober. I believed in an ambiguous God.
Whoever you identify.
Well, yeah, because I like
that's
that.
AA.
Well, yeah, and I think AA got that right.
Yep.
In the sense that it allowed me to stay long enough for God to show me who He really is.
Sure.
If I'd walked into AA and they said Jesus is the way, that I'd have been like, peace out. Scam.
Sure.
So I say all that to say, I believed in this ambiguous God, and I prayed to this ambiguous God, and I was sober for a year. He removed the desire for me to drink supernaturally, gone, never come back. My wife has cocktails at the house right now, right? Like people drink, it don't bother me.
Sure.
And that was the like real cornerstone for me to build my faith off of, because I still struggled with unbelief for years.
Yeah.
Because of my strongholds around my experiences. All that being said, I was sponsoring guys. I was going to a church, a non kind of Jesus church, but church.
Yeah.
And I was being of service. I was volunteering, and so
Okay.
I was like, man, I'm doing the right thing here.
Okay.
And I was honestly asking this ambiguous God, like, hey, I want to know you. I'm all in. You've changed my life. I don't know what that means, and I had good men encouraging me. Men who believed in Jesus that also knew it wasn't their job to get me to believe in Jesus. It was their job to love me, and they could only love me if they had a relationship with God about their own heart, like I was saying before. And so I remember it like it was yesterday. I was setting up at the men's meeting in Vail, Colorado that I got sober at. And I volunteered to do the setup for that meeting, and that means you get there early and you get the coffee going, the donuts out, all that kind of stuff. And I was doing all that. And I can remember it like it was yesterday, that I was setting up and I was looking around, and in a split second, in this moment, I felt what I would now define as the Holy Spirit saying and reminding me, what are you looking at? And as I'm looking around, I kind of snap out of this and I hear this in my heart, what are you looking at? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was being of service and on paper doing the right things all across the board, but even at my very best on paper, I was serving so that someone would see me serve.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
But that was for me, and I can only speak about my heart in this.
Right.
It was crumbling.
Yeah.
Because this world I'd built myself on, and also going like, hey, for the guy who doesn't believe, who's leading a really good life, like, man, they'll probably go to heaven if there's a heaven. Like that was all that stuff started crumbling for me in that moment, because I lived at my best. I was still selfish. And so that scares me today for my non-believing friends, but also at the same time, I'm like going, God, well, what does that mean for me? Like, how would you have me be a representative for you in this world that is culturally compromised based off what your word says? Like, I don't want to do it like that guy. I don't want to do it like that guy. I'm definitely not going to do it like that. But like, I think I'm supposed to do something. And I've sat on the sidelines, I think, a little too long and a little too comfortable around what it is for my non-believing friends, but I don't know what to do.
I think the plank out of your eye is a great idea. Like the self-awareness. I mean, we lack self-awareness as human beings by the dozen. Yeah. And so the ability to look and say, what can I do? How can I be a better person? I think is always really well. And then, of course, I think loving people. I mean, that's the one thing that I constantly fall to, is that my job is not to, I'm not here to convince anyone, and I can't give them faith. I mean, like you said earlier, my only job that I can do is to love people really well where they're at.
Sure.
But I certainly see people of faith, whether they're a believer or not, though, feed homeless, and could it be performative? Certainly.
Sure.
Could it be that way? Certainly. I mean, there are factions, believe it or not, there are factions that could theologically really debate why they believe in universalism, that we all go to heaven. Yeah. There's some that could put in a camp of purgatory, that afterwards, and then there's
even though purgatory is not in the 66 books of the Bible.
Well, and then there's some that argue 67, and I think the Catholics say 73.
They've got like 73.
So it goes crazy in the faith, and that's all I mean is that one thing I feel like I've come to in my walk is that that Jesus is, if I'm going to say it's a relationship, I'm going to have to give some leeway that relationship's going to look different for you, and it's going to look different for me. And there's certain standards I can fall on that I feel like you and I can share, right? Or anyone else in the faith, right? And that standard would be that, I absolutely believe that Jesus walked this earth, and I believe he was God.
Yeah.
And then I believe he did live a perfect life.
Yes.
And was tempted and understood everything that I go through, and because of that, he understands me and he gets me. Mm-hmm. And then he went to a death. I don't understand why there had to be bloodshed. I don't understand why this idea, but he did. Mm-hmm. And then he rose again.
Yes.
And because of that event, there were people that they went to their deaths to tell folks that they saw a life change.
Yeah. And
that motivates me. That gets me. That motivates me, and my faith is anchored to that.
Yeah.
People a lot of times will say, the Bible says, and I'm like, man, the Bible didn't say anything. James, the brother of Jesus, says, confess your sins to one another so you may be healed. I mean, or maybe that actually was Peter, I think. But James talks a lot about that stuff too. And Peter says, and Paul says, these guys wrote these letters because of their experiences and what they witnessed and what they saw. And so, my faith tends to be anchored in the cross and the resurrection.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And so I think that and I know we do. We share that.
I think for you and I too, I think we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to be so concerned and in the game around my heart.
Yeah.
My character.
100%.
Because my character is the problem.
It's the only thing you can control.
And
you can't control people, places, or things, right?
No, and he wants to change it.
Yeah.
Well, how does he change it? For me, it's not by just going to church on Sunday.
100%.
It definitely is not by checking a box with a devotional sitting on the toilet right before I check my fantasy football.
Right.
Come on, guys.
Come on.
Like, which, by the way, fantasy is great. Yeah. But it becomes about and this is where people I rub them the wrong way, and I'm okay with it. Like, it's not about works, but it is about participation.
I think
we're called to do good works, not to earn salvation, but I
think it's abundance. I think it's an abundance and overflow. right?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So the overflow, you can call that a work or not, but I'm supposed to work on my heart with the Lord.
Yeah. I mean, it's semantics, but I agree with you. I think we're just in semantics here. I mean, I agree with you, and I think, and again, even if we weren't in agreement, I still love you. But I'm in agreement. I'm certainly in agreement with you. What I would say too is that
go ahead. I want to say this. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think we miss intimacy with God in our own hearts because we don't say yes to His invitation into change.
I think that's probably really good. That's really good.
That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying it well.
I think that's really good because what I love about Jesus is the hope that I have. It's the love that I feel.
Yeah.
It's the compassion that I gain.
Yeah.
It's the forgiveness that I'm given.
Yeah.
And I want others to feel that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the struggle of that is I can't give it to them.
Sure.
But what I can do is if I'm checking in with my heart with the Lord and looking at, hey, what has He given me? Well, first of all, He's given me this gift of faith, man. How do I hold that, honor that? Because the world's loud, the responsibilities are much, and the isolation and distraction is abundant on the West.
Yeah.
And so if I become a slave to the self-life that is and relegate my relationship to God down the list, meaning like I'm not giving Him space to speak to my heart, to what changes, then I miss being the light or salt to actually have the abundant things flow through me. I then just kind of become a believer that knows a lot about the Bible and forgets that, like, wait a minute, like what in me needs to change today, you know?
100%.
And I think that's where we become.
I agree with that.
Maybe we can become light to the guy that maybe the other Christians say is like, you're doing that right. Like, and how do I love them in that way? You know?
I've always felt the soapbox Christian never really goes well, right? It's the one that creates agency with the person.
Yeah. Coins in the jar, baby.
And 100%.
Trust.
And then over time is able to say, by the way, I want you to know where I get my hope from.
Yeah, because then like they ask you, hey, man, Jason, man, you're just a different guy today than you were 20 years ago. What happened?
St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel often. Use words when necessary.
Bro, those guys had it. They were the ones that like fled society, right? To go be in solitude because back then it was so distracting and loud.
There's a story of him with the Crusades that he left the Crusades to go and follow into the he wanted to go and tell the Mongols that Jesus loved them, and he wanted to tell them that what was happening was not in Jesus' name. And so he leaned into that, and he crossed the battle lines and went into the encampment and got beat up. So, there's some great stories about.
We are so soft compared to those dudes.
These guys. That's what I was going to say. Like, I got
my nice jeans rolled up here, my loafers,
right. And we're just talking about like how can we love people, in in air conditioned rooms or whatever, you know what I mean? So it gets crazy. So now that we've covered reality television, we've covered faith. What I want to talk to you about, and we'll kind of wrap this whole conversation up with this subject matter, what you're doing now, True North Retreats, and you're really because you're bringing men into these to get in touch with their vulnerability.
Yeah, man. What a gift. By the way, Jason, I just want to say, I could talk to you all day about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I hope we'll continue to, because I want men around me that
oh my gosh,
that challenge and sharpen me, right? Like real talk.
You're in my text message thread.
Come on,
brother.
let's go. Yeah, dude, vulnerability. Okay, like I think if guys are really honest, that word is super uncomfortable for them in general. Not everyone, but a lot. Vulnerability, I think, is the place where real transformation can happen and change, because we learn that, like, how to actually be honest with others, with ourselves and with God, and I know the Lord meets you there in that place of true honesty and vulnerability that is super difficult to manufacture or get to on our own based off of everyone's terrified, whether they admit it or not, of being found out. Being found out for the secrets they have, for the inadequacies they carry, for the judgment they harbor, right? And so, like, I consider myself lucky to have become a crack cocaine addict that lost everything multiple times and wanted to kill himself, because that was the end of the road for me, to be willing to say yes to a God I didn't believe in and simultaneously open myself up to being vulnerable. Addicts and alcoholics are forced into vulnerability or they die. And those that say yes to that, like, you know, can build a life on some amazing things and become light to other people. The problem is most men don't get addicted to crack cocaine.
Right.
So the thing
how do you get them vulnerable?
Well, first of all, we're all addicts, right? Everyone on this planet's in recovery. Biblically, you're born dead, and you're in recovery. Recovery from what? Recovery from yourself and your flesh. Well, what does that look like? Well, most guys just end up dying spiritually versus dying physically, because the thing they're scared to tell you they struggle with is not killing them physically; it's killing them spiritually, so they can live with it and they can hide it. Right? And then it becomes this festering thing inside the soul that destroys their family, that destroys their identity, that makes them isolate, that makes them perform. And so, you know, I thought building the ministry True North was really going to be a ministry towards people in recovery, because that was my story. And God was so sweetly ahead of the curve for me on that. And it was, you know, son, build a place and bring men in that don't know they're in recovery. I'm like, who's that? And he's like, that's everybody, buddy. It's everybody. And so in this place that we're trying to create and curate for a man to sit at the foot of the creator of creation, to go, hey, God, like, where am I not being honest in my life? Every guy can sit there and find something.
Did you you ever heard about Celebrate Recovery?
Yeah, that's in the churches, kind of the church version of AA.
Some people call it the soft version, but the premise is kind of what you're saying, because it's everyone has hurts, habits, and hangups.
Of course.
So everyone's recovering from something, codependency.
100%.
You know, performance-based anxiety.
We let you live with codependency.
Yeah.
And we're not judging you, and you're not being put on, you know, you're not on a help my son's dying mat.
Right.
Don't know where my son's at.
You don't go to the emergency room for codependency. You go to the emergency room for overdoses.
Your marriage fails.
Yeah, right.
And we let that happen.
We let it happen. Good call.
Or you secretly look at pornography in marriage and don't have sex with your wife, and the divide begins and the family's destroyed because we don't want to talk about it at the pulpit. Like, get over yourself, man. Like, everyone is dying on the vine, period.
Right.
Like, my story's no different than yours and anyone else listening out there, is that, like, man, we live in a fallen, broken world, and apart from God, and even kind of on paper walking with God, man, we struggle with selfishness and self-seeking and sin and dishonesty.
Heck, with God, I struggle with that.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, let's create spaces where dudes can be like, hey, I'm scared if I say this out loud, my wife will leave me. I will be kicked out of my church, and my Bible study group will no longer let me be there. But hey, I'm really struggling with pornography, or I go to a massage parlor, or, you know, I am actually stealing from my company to try to make ends meet so that the life I'm providing for my family doesn't change.
So, you know, Nathan, years ago, Danielle and I, we my audience, if you've listened to it all, you may have heard some of that story, but there were times where we were struggling in marriage, and I just remember I decided we need to see a counselor.
Yeah.
And I was working in the church. I was you know, I wasn't on staff at the time, but I was I think I might have been secretary of the board or whatever, and running Bible study classes. Everybody knew me. There was Celebrate Recovery in our church that we had, all of these things. And I thought, man, I need to see somebody, and we need to see somebody. I need to see somebody. We need to see somebody. Yes. I've got issues I need to work through. And I found the best Christian counselor I could find that was on the other side of town.
There you go.
So we drive an hour away.
Yeah, why?
One way. Because nobody knew me.
That's right.
And my church wouldn't know. My people wouldn't know. Nobody find out my secret.
Yeah, man.
You know, and because you do. You see it'd be the short end. And shouldn't be that way. but there are some truth to what's being said and how people are being felt, because we've seen it time and time again. We've seen people say something and lose all their church friends, lose all that community that's around them.
Can we all come together and stop doing that?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Dude, but when I became a believer, and I went to my first church, I thought I was going to show up to a room full of people who were openly going, yeah, I'm bleeding out right here, man, but here, let me help you. And so when I got there and saw the Truman Show, I'm like, what is, and
it's
this
a country club, baby. Coffee shops and
dude, hey brother, I'll pray for you. How you doing with that?
That's right.
I'll pray for you. Man, it's no,
do you
you're
mean
not.
it? Do you mean it?
But also why, of course non-believers don't want to come in there.
Yeah.
Because you're walking around like you're not broken.
It's not a hospital.
No, we should just be walking around hey man, look at this scar.
Yeah.
You know what though? But he healed it, because I was honest about it. So back to your vulnerability question.
Yeah.
Look, the death of us is going to be, us not creating spaces for men to learn to be vulnerable. We wonder why the divorce rate's so high. We wonder why church, this and that. And then then there's the church stuff where, it's performance, man, and all this crap. I am just called to look at my heart with Jesus.
That's right.
And then control what I can control. What has he given me authority over? My wife, right? Not authority, not in a misogynist way. No. But how do I be about it? Not talk about it, be about it with my wife and with my kids and with the stranger at Starbucks. Yeah. Why do I flip off the guy in front of me in Franklin, by the way, not Nashville? All my Franklin people now. Why do I flick off the guy in traffic going the speed limit when I'm on my way to my appointment?
Yeah,
because I'm selfish. Because I'm selfish and it's about me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to be late. And he doesn't know that. He's going the speed limit. Why am I in such a hurry? Because
how can I give grace?
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I get to the root of why I'm an a-hole. Then the world will change.
Well, and I love that you're bringing guys, because vulnerability really, when we get vulnerable and when we get the idea of that we don't have it all figured out and how can I get better, it's amazing what changes around you and how your environment changes just because you're making internal change. It's amazing how relationships get better. It's amazing how those things work. And so it's a unbelievable thing. What I want to ask you about True North retreats, because I have been asked to a number of retreats. I mean,
Sure.
Over my time in church, involved in ministries and stuff like that. I mean, I've been asked to all of them, and inevitably when I talk to folks, I've really never done one. So I'll go ahead and fess up. I've never done one. I've been
contempt prior to investigation is prejudice.
That's exactly right. But most of the time when they tell me about this, I mean, man, it's like cafeteria food. I'm sleeping on a cot somewhere, in some backwards hole, and but I'm going to find Jesus, and the first thing I can think about is, am I going to find a good night's sleep? Camping ain't for me. Yeah. But everybody wants to take me to the top of a mountain and help me find Jesus, and I get it, but what is it that you guys do that attracts people? Because I know you do things that are a little different to try to take away all of those objections.
Man, I just love that you're honest about that,
Yeah.
Again, when I got pulled into building a retreat ministry, kicking and screaming, quite literally, who am I to do this? I don't have a book to sell. I don't have any of all this stuff. But when I accepted, okay, man, God wants me to build this space, I think, for men to experience intimacy with him through vulnerability. Cool. And then I went to all my people in Dallas, Texas that I was doing life with, who were all guys in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, man, who comfort had become a thing. And all those guys are like, look, I don't do retreats, man, because of what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how do I fix this problem, God? And quite literally, the Lord put on my heart, man, son, take the objections off the table. So what does a man object to? You just said it for me. You built my case for me. Okay, cool. So what do I like? Oh, I want to get a good night's sleep too. I love food.
Yeah.
If a guy's not worried about how he's sleeping or what he's eating, will he be present enough to do the work required to touch and taste what we're talking about? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So then we set out on, okay, well, how do I do this? And so we've partnered with and we've built a process that we would put up against anybody's, ministry or resort kind of style of thing. So our accommodations are incredible. The partners we have, the facilities are super nice. It's intimate. It's 10 to 12 guys total. You're not doing bunk beds. You're either in a king bed or maybe you're in a room with one other queen, right? Like the food, we have a chef. It's farm to table. Everything we want to. We want to also teach men about the sustainability of actually like good food and what that looks like. And, not only building into a spiritual discipline and spiritual diet, but like, hey, what why do we feel bad? Why are we inflamed? Well, because you're eating all that processed crap, right? Like we didn't know until years ago we started kind of unpacking that stuff. So yeah, our experiences are gonna make you really comfortable so that you can get uncomfortable, because that's the deal. Jason, where do you and I chase the kingdom of comfort over the kingdom of God? Everywhere. So let's at least feed them. And one of our little stupid tags is come eat like a king, sleep like a king, and spend time with the capital king, right? Like,
Interesting.
Because we want to do that. What a man will learn coming away from us, nothing from me. The secret sauce is not Nathaniel. The secret sauce is us building a beautiful table, asking a man to sit down and have a meal with Jesus, and when he thinks he's had enough, allowing us to ask him to sit back down to have a little bit more. In that process, a man will see, touch, and feel what the Lord wants him to see, touch, and feel, to then be able to effectively make change in his life back home that then transcends generations to come with being a biblical leader in your household. That's it.
I love the idea that, because there is something to be said of doing hard work. I mean, I was talking to my brother the other day, and we were just talking about growing up. And there's only one other person in my life that knows what it's like to grow up with the parents we had. Sure. And I love my mother, I love my father, but there's certainly things that I think they regret, and there's certainly things that we've regretted. And it's funny because I was telling him, I said, even to this day, at 49 years old, even to this day, I'm saying I didn't like that part. Or I'm still dealing with that part. Yeah. Or I still find myself in this like PTSD from that part. Yeah. And building boundaries around that part. Yeah. And I said, I'm 49 years old. And he's like, me too.
Yeah, man.
And so, but if we don't deal with those things and we don't talk about those things, we just pass down those things.
Yes, man. Yeah, this is the heart of it, Jason. Like, you're nailing it, man. Dude, like, my story is this minority, crazy, big T trauma story that people can check out on because they didn't have that. But here's the deal. Every human on this planet has trauma because we were raised by, coached by, in relationship with, and in community with humans. Humans are the problem. Broken humans. Whether it's done nefariously or done accidentally, we transmit that stuff. If you are a man and you are in your 40s and you've never gone backwards to do heart work around your life, then you are definitely transmitting things to your children and to others that were given to you willingly or unwillingly, period, end of story. The call to sanctification and a relationship with God through the modality of what we do in our retreats is for a man's like, hey, here's the octagon called solitude. Jesus is in there and he's ready to teach you, train you, wrestle you, and heal you around those things to change the direction of your life with your family and all that stuff. Like, man, my wife and I, if I'm not spending time in solitude asking the Lord, like, hey, why am I so frustrated when she does X, Y, and Z? And then not worrying about what she's doing and going, okay, God, like, what am I called to do in this current situation? And how do I get free from the anger and judgment I have? And wait a minute, like, why am I even angry? Yeah. Right? Like, and then you find out the good, like, gold down in your soul of childhood experiences, of adolescence, young adulthood, of all these things that have built up on us like the silt of the world onto our minds that block us from being children of God. And so in the vulnerability, in the solitude, working that stuff out, man, is like the thing that I feel like current Christian men, believing men, followers of God, we've missed.
One thing I liked that you were telling me about True North retreats is you said after they do the weekend, like Thursday through Sunday sort of thing, right? That they go through a monthly meeting with their kind of group. So it's like 12, 15 guys, something like that you're doing the retreat with. That they spend every month they do a Zoom or whatever and talk about where they're at and how they're doing and really encouraging and going on. I I mean, I think that's so powerful, the ability to have other men that you are vulnerable with, that know everything about you, and that you can get in a room with, and how are you doing, and they can call you out, and they can talk you through it, and so they go on a journey with that, and then you send them a 52-week devotional after they leave as well, so they have every week something to go through and to walk through that builds upon the experience, I assume. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's called Kingdom Council, and like we used to be, we dialed the retreat experience to a level that felt pretty awesome, comparative to what other things offer out there. And then what we saw year after year was that 4 to 5 weeks after a man returns home, even after having this beautiful revelatory experience, right, in a lot of ways, the world wins.
Yeah, you go right back. I mean, you are who you are.
The world wins.
Unless you really do the work.
And so we, like, all right, how do we then, build off this experience? And Kingdom Council is that, and each month we get together on a Zoom call. I'm still part of with each group. And that Zoom call is like, men want to be in relationship, but I think men just don't know how to be in relationship with one another. And so after going through an intimate experience like True North, you all of a sudden are like, man, I really kind of like, I'm seen for the first time maybe in my life, and others are too. And I feel really like connected to Jason through this experience, and so then you show up on a Zoom a month later and you already feel disconnected, right? And so it's kind of like, hey, where's everybody at? Well, I tried doing this, I tried doing that. Oh, well, hey, remember on the retreat you told me, how you doing with that, right? So all of a sudden, that first couple meetings, you're learning what it is to be in community with somebody. And then if a guy's not there, I encourage and coach you on how to pursue another guy, right? Like picking the phone up, which is hard to do because I'm selfish, and so now you're learning how to be in relationship, and now you, Jason, you can't go hide if you missed one because you had a work thing, cool, but if you missed two, and like, hey man, what are you prioritizing, Jason? Why are you not? And then the 52-week video devotional is just a 3 to 4 minute training and challenge to you each week to actually set up solitude twice this week, not conveniently so, but at a cost. Like at a cost to the things that you're putting above your relationship with God. I mean, where your heart is, your treasure will be too, right? Like where your treasure is, your heart will be. And so it's just this old school kind of way of trying to help a guy reframe and go, man, we're called to work, we're called to be responsible, we're called to like provide for our family, but all of that comes after.
And it comes to a cost.
When it comes after what? Like after my dependence and surrender to God. Like, man, God, where am I operating on self-will today? Help me grow and change from that, And so the more you can, in my experience, the more we can be men that put God first, not just in a showy way, but in an intimate way, the better my family is, the better my kids are, the better my company is, the better my neighbors are, because I'm getting to actually be the change that people can see, because God's working me out, man. And not all that's pretty.
Yeah.
Not all that's pretty, and that's okay.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for 10 years?
Yeah, so let's see here, we're year 8 with the ministry, been doing this work for 12.
Okay. So you've been doing the retreat sort of stuff, and what's the biggest, challenge that you've learned over this that you had to make, a change in, or that didn't work and we got to go in a different direction? What's some of that you've seen over this course of a decade plus?
I think I think in the car on the way over here, this came up, and one of the big revelations for me over these last number of years has been building things without God. Like I am pretty affirmed in that the Lord has called me into ministry, and I hate even saying that word called, because that makes it sound like I'm something. I'm nothing.
Right.
But being invited to do this kind of work is like a big deal to me, and it's an honor, and I didn't really know how to handle that early on, because if God really knew who I was, he wouldn't be honoring me in this way. And so there was this part of me that God would later reveal to me that needed to prove God right in choosing me. And I'm a really good builder. I'm a really good self-reliant visionary guy that can get things done and check boxes and build a plan. Man, I'm an executor.
Yeah.
To my peril. in a lot of ways. And so I think the thing he's shown me the most over the last decade plus is that I must be intentional with building with him. And not just like sitting on my hands and not doing anything and going to him to pray out the big ideas, the big rocks. But it's like, man, how do we actually execute the rocks on a daily basis? And it's in partnership with God, which, man, totally contradicts the worker and doer in me, because I want to get out there and get things done. Okay, am I getting them done for his glory and his will, or am I getting them done because I need to get them done? And that's the hard
season of wait,
bro.
Seasons of patience,
bro. That's the hardest part, you know. And but what it does, and in that is it continues to train me that he's doing it all.
I love the reliance that you've placed in your faith. The one thing you said to me in the car ride when we were talking about some of this stuff was that there were moments in time that you felt like, you know, you could do something like a John Eldridge, you know, you mentioned him, and he's, I'm sure, has a beautiful ministry, and whatever he does, he's great. He's executing it as well as he can.
He's wonderful.
But I'm just telling you that you were kind of like, we could increase the number of people we take on, the number of retreats.
How do we scale? Let's scale.
Right, scale.
Big
How do we
scale.
build? How do we build?
Yeah, dude, totally.
And you realized that the intimacy and the vulnerability, that's not what this was built on. God's got a lane for you, and you didn't need to get out of it, right?
Yeah, and it was like, again, like, so Jason, if you come on our retreats, which you are going to come, by the way, people, trust me, I promise you, you will come, dude. The bad news for you and the good news is that you're in my crosshairs now.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the Lord has gifted me to find that line and push you to it. We really, the main thing we ask a guy to do is get curious with God about himself all the time. So why do I want to scale? And then investigate that. Don't answer it myself, but sit quietly, you know, in some period and go, God, man, help me see what's going on with the scale. The scale is really out of fear of like, how am I going to make ends meet if we don't get enough guys to come through to bring X, Y, Z in? The scale is like, hey, maybe we're not really being impactful enough unless we have these huge numbers of this or that. So the scale wasn't about God. It was about me. You know, and that's like a hard pill to swallow as a guy in ministry. Like, hey, let's get real. Like, even at my best, man, apart from God, I'm serving me. Okay, so God, what do you want? Son, I want it to be intimate. I want you to go deep with few. Well, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because then that means like, okay, I'm not in control.
I'm really going to have to rely on you. I'm really going to have to rely on you to find it.
Not just be about it.
What's your, somebody gets done with the retreat.
Yeah.
What do you consider success?
Going.
Really?
100%.
You're no expectations.
No, man, it's going. Dude, look, I've done this long enough now to I watched the enemy and the world and a person's own insecurity and flesh take him out of the game the night before. I mean, we just had 4 guys bail the night before on the last retreat. Never had that many the night before. Every week of a retreat, I'm waiting for the phone calls because it's coming. Look, we even train a guy up before he comes of like, hey, be on guard that you are going to have things come up between now and then that are going to seem way more important, if not prettier or dutiful in what you need to do. And I would challenge you and have you to pray right now and be prepared that like, hey, this isn't selfish. This is actually an investment in your family because you're going to the creator of all things and saying, I don't have it all together. I don't know what to do next. And I'm sorry for not relying on you. God, would you have mercy on me and my family? Right? And then, so then from that, like the things you see happen in a man's life is incredible. And this doesn't mean accolades or materialism, but you see homes healed and you see fathers asking for forgiveness from their kids, right? You see men being able to forgive their father who maybe is not here anymore for what he did because the Lord, our Father, helps us understand that our fathers were just men, right? Like, so the real stuff that happens, so just get there, right? If a dude gets there, again, like the Lord's in charge, not us. We set a table, and so that's success.
That's it. Just get
coming,
there,
bro.
I love it. So last question I have for you, Nathaniel. I ask a lot of people this and variations of this question. Nothing crazy. It's not a gotcha. And I'm sure yours is going to be a great answer. But if you could go back, tell that 22-year-old, 25-year-old kid, Nathaniel, out of everything that you've got going on now, knowing what you know now, if you could tell him a practice, a discipline, a new way of thinking, just few things, what would you tell that 22, 25-year-old Nathaniel? That Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan. Yeah, dude. I mean, this one's pretty easy, I think, for me at this point in my life. I just told him to hold on. Yeah, like, you'd have to hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to get better?
Yeah, it's going to get hard.
It's going to get hard.
Yeah, man. But, like he's just got to hold on and make it. Just hold on long enough to realize what we end up realizing. You know, I've been really blessed to go backwards into my heart with John specifically, and have these encounters with those younger versions of myself, right? Not to get weird and hokey and stuff, but like there are fragmented parts of my soul through the trauma of my life that John has helped me kind of go back and introduce them to Christ and introduce them to who we are today. And we've been able to say these things to these younger versions. It's just like, hold on, man. Like, he's with you and you don't even know it. But you got to go. Like, it's going to get tough, dude. But that's all part of his design that he will redeem so that I can sit in the chair today with Jason, you know. It's not Chris, Jason.
Yeah.
I was thinking of.
No.
Yeah, dude. You know, so just hold on is what I'd say.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Nathaniel Blackburn, this has been a pleasure. I thank you so much for coming on and saying yes.
Jason Becker, man. Like, are you kidding me, dude? It's my honor.
Thank you.